So there's a misconception that if you're single, you are incomplete, perhaps damaged, salvaged, and you won't be happy until you find your one. And that is not true. That is bullshit. It is a message that has been fed to us by media and advertising. The truth is, when you're single, you have the richest soil for growth. That's why I created this podcast. And unlike other podcasts, this one is host-driven, not guest-driven. That means I will be rotating health and wellness experts 3 times a week to give you the giant box of wellness crayons, not just the primary colors, so you can start building a meaningful life. It's time to give singlehood a cape. Your host today is Piet Vodden, the British co-founder of PHAROS Athletic Club. This is where I work out pretty much every single day. He's also a great friend, and he was first fully certified at Gym Jones as an instructor in Europe and carries multiple certifications, including personal training, nutrition, PICP, I have no idea what that is, Crossfit, boxing, Olympic lifting, gymnastics, and on and on. He has coached hundreds of people over the years to better health, better strength, and a stronger mind. He believes in advancing the spiritual through the physical, and that gyms are an arena for expression, also for bonding and social commune, far beyond the simplicity of sets and reps. His mission is to lead people to better health through training, nutrition, environment, and really bad jokes. No, I'm just kidding. Anyway, he has trained multiple celebrities over the years, and he's an all-around good dude with lots and lots of intelligence when it comes to fitness and nutrition. Enjoy Piet Vodden.
Just you and me and the truth, brother. That's all there is.
Hey, you know what I love about you, Pieter, is you're always on time. You're the only person I know, you and myself, that is always about 4 minutes early to anything.
That's right. I'm not an LA person. That's the thing. Like that shit drives me nuts. Like everyone just thinks they're so busy. Oh, I'm so busy. It's like, dude, you're not busier than me. Trust me. You're just rude.
Is it that, or is it that you don't have a life, and so you have to come early to everything?
Dude, I don't know anyone that's busier than me, honestly.
That is true. You're very busy. Hey, one thing we're not going to talk about on this episode is the size of our frying pans.
Yeah. I mean, my frying pan's bigger. It always has been a lot bigger, but I don't know whether that's just compensation or whether I just need a bigger frying pan.
I used to live with Pieter. And
John Kim.
Well, he eats more than I would say four average people. He eats more than.
Or do you eat less than the average female teenager?
Where are we going to take this podcast?
We're going to take it all over the place. Hey guys, welcome back to the PHAROS Fit podcast. I am with my good friend, author and therapist, John Kim, aka the angry therapist, who really isn't that angry. We'll get into that in a bit. John, thanks for joining us today on the podcast. As you know, I love you. You're a good friend. You're also one of the busiest guys I know, and you're busy in a very different way than me. And we'll jump into that in a second. But you're at an interesting point in your life where you have this new book that just came out, Single on Purpose. But you're also at a point where this is the first book you've done, not as just you. You're doing it in partnership with Vanessa. And that's the first time you've done that, right?
Yes.
And it's an interesting transition for you because you've always kind of been this like single dude, the single guy. That's kind of been your audience. That's been your kind of like platform. But now you're in a different situation. You're in a relationship. You have a kid. You're touring together. I know you've done a lot of like book signings together, a lot of like seminars together as a couple. How has that changed? And how you
made a baby together?
Made a baby together. Was it you? Was it not you? It's debatable, but.
Hey, first of all, the book is called "It's Not Me, It's You." You called it "Single on Purpose."
Before, yeah.
Yeah, probably on purpose. You said that. What's the question?
How has the experience been different for you? Like, have you made that adjustment to being you? So Single on Purpose was just
right. Right.
essentially. And then it's not me, it's you. It's done as a couple, done as a relationship thing, and everything the way you've promoted it, the way you've taught, the way you've
Yeah. Uh,
changed your experience.
well, listen, you're a writer as well. I had a fear of, and I know you have issues with control. So I had a fear of losing control with art, right? And so all my other books was just me. And so when I thought, okay, I want to write a book about relationships, but I'm going to bring my partner in, I felt like, fuck, I didn't want to not be the leader of the band, right? So I had a lot of fear, but I said to myself, okay, what would make a better book? Right? And you probably asked this about your business and all your stuff. What would be the best product, right? And to be honest, it would be bringing in my partner who's also a therapist who's going to call me out on my own shit. If I just wrote a relationship book on my own, it would just be through my own lens and a lot of, me on behind the podium, right? And I thought it wouldn't be that interesting. And so I brought her in and it was exactly what I thought. It was challenging, it was scary. There's stuff in the book that we put out there that is very personal, and we had a rocky beginning. It wasn't love at first sight and all of that. And so to kind of revisit that uh, was it was triggering and it was interesting. It was difficult, but the book, but we're proud of the book and it's out. And yeah, thank you for asking.
Yeah, no, I'm just because this is your fourth or fifth book now.
uh Five, number five.
So this is your fifth book,
Yes.
and your audience, has always responded to you as the kind of single guy going about life and trying to find his path.
Yeah.
What's the response been now that you are, in this partnership? Has the response been good, or are people like, well, what happened to the single on purpose guy?
I don't know because I try not to get concerned with what people think, or my insecurities will shine. I will start to doubt myself. I have to just lock my gear and forward. The reviews are good, but yeah, I don't know what people are thinking. I mean, I might have lost some people. I might have gained some people.
For
But
sure.
here's the truth is I'm not single anymore. The truth is I'm in a partnership and we're building a life together, and that's where I'm at. So, as a writer, I think you just always have to go back to writing what's honest.
Yeah. And obviously, two therapists coming together to write a book, that immediately presents, not only a wealth of experience, because you both have your own experiences as therapists in your individual right, and then coming together as two therapists. That must be a real trip, like to talk about like your experiences as therapists, as well as being like a man and a woman coming together.
Yeah, yeah,
There's so much there that you can kind of delve into.
yeah. I
Um,
would. If Vanessa wasn't a therapist, I wouldn't have done it. It would be like you partnering with someone to write a book about fitness, but the person you're partnering with, you may love, but it doesn't have any kind of fitness training, right?
right.
So, in order for us to be kind of on equal terms and bring something valuable to the table, both people have to be certified. Both people have to have some kind of street cred. And so, if she wasn't a therapist, but she was just my partner I'm bringing in, it wouldn't have worked. It would have felt kind of phony, and I'm just kind of bringing someone in, you know. And maybe I shouldn't say bringing someone in because it was our book. We had to sell it together. It wasn't something like
Right.
right, right. It was
Did,
something
did
we
she
built from scratch.
did she pitch it to you in the beginning? Did you pitch it to her? Was it like a publishing idea? Was it who pitched it to who?
I pitched it to her. The publisher wanted a "What's next for you," and I wanted to write a book about relationships and love. I've been saving it. I always thought I would call it Love Hard, and uh, don't laugh at me, Peter.
I'm laughing. I like
And
it.
um, I pitched it to Vanessa. I said, "What if we wrote this together?" And then she
Mhm.
was on board.
That's great.
Um,
And as it stands now, like obviously you've built your identity a certain way over the years. Do you feel like an identity shift, or do you still see yourself as the same angry therapist, or are things changing for you on a personal level? Obviously, your situation is different, right?
yeah, yeah.
But do you find yourself like who is the angry therapist? What the identity of what that once was? Do you feel a shift in that now that you are kind of writing as a couple in a relationship and have this different life dynamic?
Yeah, A lot more men follow me now. So in the beginning, when I was going through a divorce and yeah, I bought a motorcycle and I was doing CrossFit 10 years ago. I think a lot of women followed me because here's a guy talking about a broken heart. Maybe they felt sorry for me. Maybe they were curious about what a guy goes through. I don't know. But 90% of my followers were women, but now it's equal. I think a lot of men have kind of come over, and I'm wondering what happened, because I'm definitely not more quote unquote manly, at least through your eyes.
Definitely not. Definitely
Yeah.
not.
So, but you know what? Not all men are attracted to manly men, Peter.
That's true. But this is great because that was my next question to you as your audience. Like, how has your audience changed with that the relationship angle? And that's interesting that it did go from that. What I see, honestly, whether it's the relationship or whether it's parenthood, whatever it is, and when you're busy and when you're entrepreneurial and you're trying to do all these different things, it's a difficult juggling. And all these things come into play. Your past comes into play. Your past relationships come into play.
Yeah.
Your own ambition comes into play. Your hopes for your children comes into play. There's so many different things that I think people can now relate to. Because I think before, a lot of people relate to you as a single guy. There's a lot of single guys out there, like, I can relate to this guy.
Yeah.
But a lot of people go through. I mean, me and you, we were kind of late to the marriage game. We were late to the fatherhood game.
No, no, no. I was not late, Peter. I got married when I was 29.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
You were. Maybe you should use some I statements in this interview. You
Right.
were late. You
It's
were late
like,
to the marriage game. I got married at 29, and then I got a divorce 5 years later.
which is what started the Angry Therapist Project in the first place, right?
Yes, yes.
But once you find yourself in a situation of marrying in your like late 30s, early 40s, having a kid in your 40s, but really for both me and you, I think our careers. No, not my career wasn't like going somewhere before, but it really didn't establish itself until I was 40. Um, and
Yeah.
I think yours probably took off in your 40s.
Yeah, but has that been the pattern for you? Were you always a kind of a late bloomer, or no? I know you're the youngest in sibling position.
I think I've always been my issue was it's been a commitment issue. I was always never ready to say like this is my. I was always worried about saying this is my job, this is my life, or this is my relationship, this is my life for the rest of my life.
The
So I was
permanence of that.
very
Yeah.
afraid of commitment in that way. Whereas now I'm very much like, this is what I'm doing, this is what I want to build, this is the
Yeah.
direction I want to go. And with Emily, it's like, this is the relationship I want to have, this is the family I want to have, this is the place I want to be. So something changed in me, in my 40s that I don't know whether it's because you become a lot more aware of like how much time you have left or time running out.
Hmm.
When you're in your 20s and 30s, you think you're going to live forever, you think you can do anything, you think you've got all this time. And then suddenly I became very aware of time. Like, I've got so many years to do the stuff that I really want to do, to build something meaningful, to like, I was passionate before, like I was passionate about, fitness and about connection and about building things, building communities and stuff. But it wasn't until like PHAROS happened that I really like honed in on that and was able to create something that I felt like I would be worthy of my energies and I could actually produce something tangible.
So
Prior to that, a lot of my work had been very transient, like come and go,
right,
people leave, you
right.
train actors to do the film, then that ends, they leave, then you have to build new relationships. It's all very this kind of transient
You
process.
we have something in common. I just had this revelation. So me being alone, divorce recovery, motorcycle, finding CrossFit fitness, all of that. And also you being at that time, you were also alone because you were hopping from movie sets, training people. We both kind of were nomadic. We kind of both lived a nomadic lifestyle. Me and Los Feliz, and you, and in just traveling on project to
Yeah,
project, right? And then we both got into a relationship, and also we both started building. And here's what's interesting: you build communities in person, and you also build with your hands, right? I build communities online, and I don't build with my hands. Meaning, I mean, I can't put anything together, to be honest with you, not even like an IKEA couch. I work. I don't know how you would describe it, but whether it's writing books or using tech, using platforms like this, but you were more brick and mortar. I'm more,
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, going back just to what you were saying, like the interesting thing about, well, maybe some people think it's interesting when they don't, but although I was in relationships before Emily, I weirdly almost always saw myself as a single person, like a lone wolf type character.
right.
So physically, I was in relationships, and this would be awful for anybody that was ever in a relationship with me to hear, but they kind of know. There was a disconnect there, and I saw
Mm,
myself as going out and doing things on my own, as being like, um, the kind of like
the cowboy.
the cowboy, the kind of
Yeah.
like the pioneer, like going out on my own, doing something. And it was very the reasons why my relationships in the past struggled was I just couldn't see how that worked with someone else. I couldn't see a path with someone else. I couldn't
Oh,
see a path.
yeah.
Like
And
I'm
that,
going to go do these things, and I don't know where you fit into this picture. And
right. So
like
you were in relationships, but then there's no way you could be present because your
right,
image
there
was
was
the cowboy
yes,
out on his own. Yeah.
right. The image in my mind, and my what destiny sounds like a funny word, but what I thought I was destined for didn't involve that person at that time. That was something I always struggled with. So when I talk about commitment, and when I say I struggled with commitment, it's because I had such big dreams and I had
Mm.
such a vivid like path I wanted to go down, and I just couldn't understand how anybody could fit on that path with me in the relationship I had prior. And some of that was just youth, and some of that was just, I want to experience things, and I don't want to be like stuck in this situation. And some of it was like it was just the wrong relationship at the wrong time in the wrong
Right.
place.
Right.
And maybe it wasn't anything to do with the person. I think it probably was, but maybe it wasn't. But when I met Emily, and when the PHAROS project started, so everything kind of like came into place, and immediately I had this kind of like path and situation that worked, and a life that made sense to me.
Wait, hold on.
Um,
There's something really important here, and I think it overlaps both fitness, your podcast, the Pharaoh's podcast, and also my podcast, the Single on Purpose podcast. Hey, if you're listening to this, like the Complex magazine in the '90s, the one cover is Pete, me interviewing Pete, and then if you flip it upside down, then it's Pete interviewing me. So this episode can be
ASAP stuff.
flip both ways.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm talking about in the '90s, Peter? I don't know if you were in
Yeah.
America or not.
Yeah.
But
Of
they used
course.
to have magazines with two different people that you could flip back and forth.
I remember.
Okay,
I remember.
so this is the podcast version of that, just to let people know because they might get kind of confused. What show are we doing here? Um, hey, here's what's really interesting and overlaps wellness, overlaps fitness. The power of visualization in that I know you grew up with a lot of visuals. So whether that was Arnold Schwarzenegger, Bruce Springsteen, Baywatch, I'm sure that poster was in your bedroom, but the image you had of the nomadic cowboy on this adventure on your own, dude, I think you subconsciously traced that, right? So and I still see elements of it now, even though you have a family. There's something about you that is very kind of like that superhero, the lone, going on these things kind of alone, doing your own thing. I see you even like moving to Idlewild. That even though you did move with your family and all that, that's kind of the spirit of that is still there.
Yeah. It is an interesting thing. And again, I think it took, Emily's a very independent woman, like as Vanessa is.
Yeah, yeah,
And I think it took an independent woman for me to be like I can still do these things. I can still, go off on my own and ride a horse, and it not be an issue. Whereas relationships in the past would have been, well, why can't I come? Why can't I do this with you? Why can't I do that with you? Um,
oh, maybe you thought that a relationship looks like entrapment, or looks like if I'm in this or I love this person, then I can't go do these other things. And maybe Emily was the first one where you felt, oh, in this relationship I can, and so I feel safer.
yeah, and I don't. Again, it could be elements of youth. Like there's the classic thing of like, there's the Springsteen thing, like Born to Run, right? Where you're like, you're the kid that grows up in a small town, and you just want to get out, and you
Right.
think it means escape, and you think it means just going off on your own and riding off into the sunset. But of course, that ends up with loneliness, right? Freedom and loneliness, they kind of
Right.
go hand in hand. So at what point are you searching for freedom versus searching for connection? And when you make the connection that works, that's what freedom is, right? Because none of us are born to be alone. None of us we're meant to be in relationships, whether that's with a social group, whether that's with a person. That's
Yeah.
as human beings how we evolved. So none of us are meant to be completely isolated. So at some point you come to that realization of like, well, this doesn't work either. Like I remember thinking when I was doing the film stuff originally, like I love this life. I love like just going from like gig to gig and being like the guy on the road and like living out of a suitcase. But you know, that life, I mean, people will tell people in bands who've been touring for years, they'll tell you the same thing. Like without connection, that actually ends up being pretty meaningless.
Yeah.
So at some point you have to, and I don't see it as like settling or settling down so much as like just realizing that the connection means more than the escape. And that just because, you know, and I still have those like those that cowboy imagery, that kind of lone wolf thing in my heart. It's like I know full well that I need relationships. I need my son. I need Emily.
Sure.
I need the like the PHAROS community. I need my friendships because one thing like my experiences have taught me is that I'm actually not that great on my own. If I'm left on my own for too long,
What do you do? What are your vices if you're alone?
I think I get too negative. I'd probably be a lot more sad.
Yeah.
A lot more kind of like depressed is the wrong word. I've never been a depressed person. I've always been excited about the world, excited about life, like wanting to do things. My frustrations always came from how am I going to get from point A to point B? How am I going to make these things happen? And I couldn't do it, then I would be frustrated and sad. Like the worst points in my life have been like I had these visions, this imagery of where I wanted to be. If I lost hope of like I can't see how I can get there anymore, that's when I'd be like, oh fuck, I don't know what to do anymore. And it wasn't because I thought the world was fucked and I hated life and I hated like everything around me. I loved everything. And I was like, how do I live out the life that I want? And if I lost the bridge to that, that's when I would get like down. So if you pair that with like, if I'm alone, if I can't find any hope or can't find a path out of the situation, that's when I'd be like, I'm getting myself in mental trouble here. I need to like find a way out.
Yeah,
So,
and I don't feel like because you're such an upbeat, positive person. I don't ever see you like negative. And if you are in a negative space, it's very brief, and then you kind of pull yourself back up. But I think what you're
yeah,
talking about is dysthymia, which is just kind of a low grade. It's not depression where you can't get off the couch, but it's kind of a grayed
no,
out, yeah, dysthymia.
yeah. I've always been pretty like resilient and determined. So I've had some setbacks in my life, like anybody.
Yeah.
But I was always like, fuck you, this is a test. I'm gonna fucking keep going. You just watch me. I've always been of that mindset.
You're not like that in your workouts though. But you're right. You are like that in other parts of your life. Like
What do you mean I'm not allowed my workouts?
I'm just fucking with you.
Right,
I'm just fucking with you. I just meant that in workouts you don't have the determination you do with
right.
business.
Not
I'm
anymore.
just joking. It's
Um,
there, Peter. It's there.
yeah. Yeah. So that is something like I think I sort out friendships and it's interesting when we talk about relationships because in this context we're talking about a relationship between a partnership, whether that be a man or a woman or a man whatever. But I had a lot of meaningful like brotherhood type relationships or friendship type relationships which prevented me and saved me from being alone, which I think were really important.
Yeah.
And like you mentioned about being a writer, like I used to write. I used to write a lot more than I write now, whether it be like songs or short stories, whatever. And when I was alone, that's what I would do. I would have that outlet. In fact, that's when I wrote my best stuff, as I'm sure you did.
Yeah.
When I was alone, when I was feeling lonely, when I felt like the frustration of loneliness. A lot of good art comes out of that situation. And one of the reasons why I've written less and less in the recent years that have gone by is that I don't really feel alone. It's I have so much around me, I have so much going on. I'm almost too busy to feel those sensations. So for better or worse, like I don't really write that much anymore. I've kind of
Do-
taken myself out of that, you can vulnerable place or whatever, and maybe consciously, maybe subconsciously, but for whatever reason, I've created a life where I'm always busy. I always have people around with me. It's hard to be alone, to be honest. It's hard to find time to be alone. Like we talked about this before, but those moments sometimes in the gym where I find myself alone and I can just do my workout on my own,
yeah,
precious, like precious. And
right.
not because I don't love being around people, but everybody needs a little time away with
Hey,
themselves.
but do you also feel like, because you do work a lot, you're very busy. Um, do you feel like sometimes if you're working too much, you can feel alone? Like, where in your life do you feel loneliness?
I don't, that's what I mean. I don't really feel that anymore.
Mm,
Um, and again, for better or worse, I don't know whether it's a good thing or a bad thing, but we've just been so busy these past few years, and with Wyatt and with a new boy on the way, and with the two businesses now. And I only ever scratch the surface of what I really want to do. I never feel boredom ever. Um, I
well,
never, I
because
mean,
because you're so busy building, don't you feel lonely in doing that? Because one of the things that you and I also have in common is we can be obsessive, right?
yeah,
We both have big dreams. We're also, I could fall into a tunnel and not come out for weeks, whether it's writing a book or building a community or whatever, producing content. And I could feel lonely in that. And then I have
I
to
think,
remind myself, oh, I'm a social animal.
yeah,
I should go out and have coffee with someone, or I should connect, because
I think
I
it's
could lose myself in this work.
I think it's different for us though, in that, like I said, writing is a very solitary action, right? You have
Well,
to
yeah,
go
yeah,
away.
yeah. That's different.
You
Yeah.
almost have to go away and lock yourself in a room to do it. Whereas I'm in a situation where everything I do is social. Everything I do involves a community. So whether I'm building something, I need to work with other people.
Mm.
Whether like me and Emily are working on the business from home, whatever it is, it always involves another person. Very, very rarely am I, you know, solo doing anything.
Yeah, but here I want to point something out. Just because you're around a lot of people doesn't mean that you don't feel loneliness. So now, I'm not saying that you don't have meaningful relationships, but if you're around a lot of people and there's a lot of business, a lot of celebrities are lonely, but they're always around people, right? Movie
Yeah,
sets and
yeah, yeah.
stuff. Um, I think what helps for me is not so much how many people are around me, but the quality of the relationship, and how, what kind of quality time is mixed in with all that.
Yeah. Yeah, I mentioned before about kind of brotherhood and relationships with friends and that kind of stuff. And if there's anything I regret over the years, it is not doing enough to hold on to those relationships or not spending enough time with friends. Like, I know guys, and I like our friend Jeff, they're still friends with their friends from school and friends from college and all that kind of stuff. I've always kind of very much been, and don't get me wrong, I'm still like in touch with people, whether it be like on Facebook or something like that. But I don't have meaningful conversations with people I was with in school or people I was with in college anymore.
Right.
I've always been like, once I've moved on, I've kind of moved on, and that's been kind of it. Um, so yeah, if there's anything I regret, like I should have maybe had more conversations and maybe brought up with people more. Um, but yeah, I don't know why that is. I just always like been pretty, I guess, transient with my relationships, right? I
Mm.
moved whether my geographical situation has taken me away from someone or just I've just evolved in a different space. Um,
I
those,
you know I disagree with you in that I don't think history alone makes a relationship worth investing in. So when you're talking about college friends, you're talking about people you went to you're talking about back in the day. Now, if those people have grown with you and they've changed and you guys have things in common, then of course, it's amazing to have friends with history. But if you have moved on, if you've moved to a different country, if you're doing something different, it's really hard. And I don't think you have to be friends with people because you have history with them.
no, I agree. I agree.
Yeah.
But I have friends from university. Like if we were in a room tomorrow, we'd snap right back into it and it
Mm,
would be great.
right. Right.
But for whatever reason, like, I don't know whether this is a masculine and feminine thing, but I know like Emily will call up a friend that she hasn't seen, or
Hmm.
whatever, and they'll have like an hour conversation. They'll have a catch up. I will never fucking do that. Like I will never.
Why? Is that an ego thing? Why
I don't
wouldn't you
know.
call?
Like
Even if you wanted to, you wouldn't do it?
I just wouldn't want to.
Mm.
Yeah, I've never had. I mean, my family's different. Like I'll speak to
Yeah, of course.
my
Right,
family, my mother, my
right.
father. But I've
Do
never
wait, do they
liked.
do they represent your past and something that you're running away from? Like, is it
I
because
think so.
yeah,
The amount of times I've done it, like I count on my hand. Like
yeah,
I've called up a friend out of the blue that I haven't seen for a while. Be like, look, I just wanted to have a catch up. And I just haven't done it. And I don't know why. And I don't know whether it's because I'm always just thinking about the next thing, or I'm always too busy, or whatever it is. But yeah, it's something that I kind of regret. Just like I regret like I haven't like journaled in my life. I know you've always journaled and you've always
yeah.
bought a lot of stuff. I kind of regret that because I've been through some interesting experiences that I wish I could remember more about. But yeah, I
Do
think
you do
that's
you
that's
make
what.
a do you make an effort these days to not your history friends, but friends around you, like Emily would do? Do you do that with friends in your life to grab coffee or some time for you and that
Yeah,
person?
I'm a lot better now. Especially I think Idlewild has been really good for me
Hmm.
in that it seems like a less hectic, busy place. So I feel like I can have time to like catch up with whether it's Jason or like friends that live here. It seems like a much more kind of like how I grew up, in more of a relaxed, uh, small town vibe. I think the city is very like everyone in a rush, people coming and going, no one has time for each other kind of situation. Whereas here, it seems a lot more like I have the people I ride horses with. It feels like a lot more relaxed, and we can have conversations. And I think that's what I'm craving more, is that connection to a local community that doesn't
Yeah.
feel so rushed and so crazy. Even though my mind and business stuff's always like crazy in my head, it's like I have these moments here, where in the mountains, where I can be like calmer and more patient, more present. And yeah, it just kind of makes more sense. Like when you've come up, just how it feels. It feels like a little different. It doesn't feel quite so in a rush.
Yeah, I love it up there. Hey, question for you, because we're both
Yeah,
turning 50 this year. Do you believe that that the life that you're living now, Peter, do you believe
yeah.
that the life that you're living now is what you imagine as a boy or even a teenager? Like when you like dreamed, okay, in my 40s, 50s, this is what I see. Here's the island. This is what's gonna make me happy. Is that visual different than what's happening now in real life?
It is weirdly, moving toward what I always dreamed. And
Mm,
we talked about this a lot, but I think within the next couple of years, we will have a ranch. I will have horses.
yeah.
My family will live on the ranch. We'll be connected to nature, and we'll grow stuff, and it will be like the Western life that my childhood self dreamed of. Um, which sounds hokey and crazy, but that's kind of what's happened. Now, when I was young, like in my teenage, did I imagine I would own gyms and be a gym owner? No. Like the actual like day to day, what my life looked like, no. But the big vision board of like, what does my life look like with a family, with children, on a ranch, with horses, with nature, in the great American landscape? That's exactly, on a motorcycle. That's exactly what I dream of. So the path to getting here, no, but the grand vision of my life and what that looks like, then yes.
Yeah, it's amazing to me because I see it unfolding. I see as you tell me, "Hey, look, I'm checking out this ranch," or even when you moved to Idlewild, I was like, "What is going on with Peter?" But knowing your story, um, dude, you're tracing this imprint that I think that you've had since you were a kid, which is yeah, this like kind of Western America, right? The
Yeah.
ranch
Dude,
raising animals and then also on the other side, business and gyms and you're obsessed with fitness. So having not one but many gyms, right?
yeah.
It's all
Yeah.
kind of happening and of course it took a lot of hard work to get there, but it's really interesting to kind of be on the bleachers for as long as I've known you, and kind of watching this painting emerge. It's fascinating because I think most of it, Peter, is subconscious. I think it's in you. It's always been in you. It's just like you're manifesting and shit now.
Yeah, yeah. And as you grow, obviously, like I'm making connections now that I want to make. I'm finding passions like the regenerative farming thing, which makes so much sense to me. Um, I'm feeling closer to that. Like I'm finding things that mean something, that are tangible things that I can do and that I can be involved in that makes sense. Um, and yeah,
Which I love because it makes you less of a cardboard cutout. Um,
right.
because fitness isn't just about lifting heavy and
Yeah, and
sweating, but it's
that's
a lifestyle. So
yeah,
to
that's
hear that you're
intrinsic.
interested in something else like that is that's interesting.
Yeah, and it's interesting when I'm building this new gym, because we just built this new gym in our world, and going back and looking at like, okay, why are we doing this? Like, what is this really about? Honestly, the honest answer is it's all about connection. It's all about building something meaningful for a community that needs it, and for people to have, a center for that energy, for that physical energy, that kind of mental energy, that physical expression. That's what excites me. Like I like lifting weights, sure, but I don't build a gym because I want to lift weights. I build a gym because I want to make those connections. I want people to feel that experience of like what that place can do for you. You know, you've been in CrossFit changed your life, fitness changed your life. You went from being, lonely, depressed, whatever it was. You found fitness, you found your career as a writer, and it kind of changed you. You needed it. Not only did it change you physically, but it changed you mentally. So you know what that feels like. And I want everybody to know what that feels like. And when we talk about what fitness is, it is the first line of defense against mental and physical health. So we are saying, through fitness and nutrition and lifestyle changes, we can protect you to some degree against, mental health issues, physical health issues. Um, we don't want we don't want you to be on a ton of meds. We don't want you to get sick. We want to help you, and we can help you. We can prevent things from happening as opposed to like waiting for them to happen and then trying to find a bunch of things to solve it. Maybe we can start from this point and prevent that ever happening. And
You
whether that's
know,
with adults, whether that's with young people, there's just so much meaningful stuff that we can do. And
you
also,
know what came out of fitness for me, wasn't just the daily sweat. It was actually, what you're talking about is community.
right.
So, I used to work out a lot, just going to the gym by myself and, doing chest and arms, that kind of thing, back and buys or whatever. But then when I found CrossFit, it came with barbecues and sweating with other people
Yeah.
and conversations and all that. And so, as adults, we lose the plug and play we had in school, recess and soccer and all
Well,
these.
yeah, and that's what honestly that's why CrossFit was so great, because you get back into team stuff. Like when you're in school and college, you had teams. Like you were on the football team or the basketball team or whatever team it was. You were involved in some kind of social interaction involved teams and competitiveness and banter. It's very easy to lose that as an adult. It's very easy to just slip away and just like lose those connections and not be involved in anything of that nature. And what CrossFit did is it brought that back into the consciousness of like, oh fuck, this is the team experience that I felt as a kid. This is the competitive thing. This is the social interaction I felt when I was involved in something like that. And it brought all that back. And for all of the years that have gone by and all the shit that's happened in CrossFit and do this, do that, none of that really matters. Like the whole point was what it did for someone's journey in terms of their relationships and the way that they felt connected to people and they had a group and interaction. It wasn't just like headphones on, go to the gym, do your own thing and leave. It was like social. It was a social
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah. In high school, I was on the football team, but I never played. So for the 4 years I was on, you think that's funny?
Well,
So
I,
I was a bench warmer, Peter. I was a bench warmer. Okay, so 4 years, and people like our friend Jeff wasn't, right. I think he was kind of a halfback, first string, whatever, all American football guy. So people like the friends that we have, they were on the field playing, and little John Kim, 135 pounds, wet, was on the sidelines, and because of those 4 years, the false belief that I absorbed was I'm not an athlete. And although I was athletic because I used to break dance and I used to skate and all that, I thought I wasn't an athlete. And so when I found CrossFit, one of the things I attracted me to it was it gave me a second chance. And I wonder if my obsession with it, and also even today, as almost 50, kind of getting carried away with being competitive, is me trying to make up for the high school years where I was a bench warmer.
I think probably, but it's also just you found a way to physically express yourself. And I
Yes,
say
that I
this to
didn't
a lot
before.
of people, they don't know how to physically express themselves for whatever reason, whether they were like had some childhood trauma, or they never felt they were an athlete, or they weren't good at soccer, or they weren't good at football. Once you find an outlet for physical expression, maybe it's CrossFit, maybe it's dance, whatever it is, you
Right.
change because you find a way to step into a different version of yourself. And it's not, it's not, you're not becoming someone different, but you're bringing out a side of you that you didn't know how to release before. And once you find that release, once you open that door, it's a whole new fucking ballgame. And
Oh,
when you see
that's
that as a
interesting.
gym owner or as a trainer, it's like, fuck yeah, like I changed that person's life. I made a
Right.
difference.
Right.
And that's what's great about training, honestly. Like giving someone a big chest or big legs, whatever, that's one thing. But seeing someone come alive or seeing someone grow into a
Right.
different version of themselves, that's the game changer, really. And
Well, I mean, I
that's
can relate to that. I mean, we both the other thing we have in common is you change people's lives through the door of fitness and their body. You work on the outside in, and I work kind of on the inside out. I'm not saying you don't work on one's inside, but
right. But
mine's through therapy and yours is through fitness.
right. So I start with the outside and find the way in, whereas you start inside and find the way out. Because I always say, like, the gym really is a theater in which you can find personality. Like the personality that comes out in the gym starts to spread into the real world. Like you start to express yourself in the gym, and that expression carries over into your external life. So you almost release something or unlock something in the gym, and once it's unlocked, it'll pay dividends to the rest of your life.
Yeah,
But some people, you can't just, I mean, as a therapist, you can't find a way in with words. Sometimes you need to find a
sure,
way in through physical action.
sure.
And you've seen people, like, I've seen people break down in a workout to the point of tears,
Yeah,
but they needed that. They needed to be broken down. They needed to experience that kind of a trauma to have a breakthrough. So it can be a very working out can be a very, very emotional thing. I think on the surface, people see it as like sets and reps and weights and stuff, but people's relationship to working out and physical action can be very emotional.
yeah, and I don't know if I would define it as a breaking down term. I mean, you kind of describe it as kind of a North Korea thing. I think there is a reunion with self. I think there is so I think that tears come from either this revelation that holy fuck, I just did something that I didn't think could do. Like if someone runs a marathon or does a CrossFit work or something, pull up. Or this is why when you hear when someone does their first muscle up for the first time, they're on the ring and their eyes are wide and you could hear them from a mile away because they can't believe they just did this. So I think there's a lot of emotion that comes from accomplishing something physical that you didn't think could do. And in that, there is, of course, a reunion, there's a connection, there's confidence, there's all this stuff happening. And that's why it can get emotional.
Yeah, there's a
Yeah.
revelation that comes with capability, right? You
Yes.
you don't
Yes.
believe that you're capable of something, and then all of a sudden you're capable of something, and that's like, holy shit, I've accomplished something that I never thought I'd be able to do. And that,
Right, right. I just don't want people to think at PHAROS that you guys beat people down, and give
right?
them a traumatic experiences
No, no,
because
no.
that's how you
But
described it. I just want to correct that for you as someone who is not your PR, but I'm a member and
but what we're talking about really is skill acquisition. And when we're kids and we're growing up, we're acquiring new skills all the time. That's part of the learning process, right? But at a certain point in our
right.
lives, it's easy to start acquiring new skills because maybe we have a 9 to 5 job, or we go home, we
Yep. Cubicle, right?
get
9 to 5, punching a clock, not doing anything physical.
right. We lose that ambition for acquiring new skills. And then sometimes when people find that in the gym, they remember that sensation of like, oh shit, I just taught myself something new. I taught myself something new. Physically, I taught myself something new. And it's like magic, you know?
That's you know what, you're actually right. And this is the power of fitness when it comes to one's personal growth. I remember, we were flipping tires in alleyways in 2010. And then when I got into it, and of course, all the guys were very competitive. It was through these little accomplishments, like what you're saying, where I had little internal shifts and I thought, oh shit, I did something today, or I tied someone, or I beat someone. Now what else could I do? It's like your mind expands from
Yes.
I can't to wait, what else is possible through
Yeah.
the door of something physical.
Yeah. And like you're saying, like one light turns on another light. So once you've made that first light turn on, it's like, well, maybe I can turn this light on. Maybe I can turn that light on. And suddenly all those lights turn on and you illuminate a whole new life. And it's just one small thing at a time.
I mean, but what's really happening is you're becoming less afraid as these lights turn on.
Right.
You're
And that's,
realizing there's no one under the bed.
well, the great thing, and again, the great thing about the gym is failure, right? Like you fail all the time and then you go again and you fail and you go again. Eventually you win and then you become less afraid of failure. I mean, it's a silly example, but I can remember trying to do a sub 7-minute 2K row, which like, who cares? But
Mhm.
I failed it a bunch of times. And the first time I did it, I felt like I was fucking 10 feet tall, like the fucking biggest man alive. It's stupid. It doesn't mean anything, but
Well, it means something to you.
yeah. And
That's what matters.
it means there was something you couldn't do and you worked hard and then
Right.
you were able to do it. And that is the power of hard work.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that's easily forgotten or easily overlooked these days. It's like you experience happiness and you experience the feeling of accomplishment when you work for something and then you made it happen. You don't feel anything when you have just bought something or something is just given to you. And that's a lot of the problems I see today, is people thinking if they just get this, if they just get that, they'll be happy. But unless you fucking work for it, unless you fucking grind for it, and then it happens, like you in your writing career, you in your books, like you fucking you grinded so hard for that opportunity. You made that happen. So when the book comes out, you feel, fuck, I fucking made this happen. If you'd have been like, I think about this with like, maybe an actor or anybody who's just been like handed a career or handed some, or something's just been passed to them. Do they really care about it? Do they value it? Do they value it to the same extent that you and me value it? Like, I fucking worked so hard for this. I made it happen. This has extreme value for me. If it was just handed to you, you would never experience that same sensation. So
I don't think I think we'd be friends, but I don't think you would respect me if I got things because of either I knew someone or if things were handed to me. I think it'd be very different, because I think you, which is great. I think you hold someone building something from scratch. I think you hold that up high. I think you respect that, and that's also what you do, right? So, because we have friends that were born with silver spoons or with a lot of money, and both of us kind of started with nothing. I didn't have an agent. I had to query people. I started with a blog and a broken heart, right? So if I didn't earn my way, but I got in because I live in LA, knew people, I don't think you would have much respect for me. I think you'd be nice to me on the surface, but I don't think we'd be
right. And I think that is, that is a lot of the problems with celebrity and the blue check mark and all that thing. People are like impressed by, people that have a lot of money or people that have a lot of followers or that kind of stuff. Like that shit does not impress me at all. The only thing that impresses me is hard work. Like when I see someone like you who've like made a career for themselves through hard work and sheer perseverance, that's what I'm impressed by. I'm not even impressed by skill, as in like, let's take the example of like football or soccer. Like I was always more impressed by the players that work the hardest than the most skillful, talented person out there. Like extreme talent that doesn't take much work doesn't impress me. Talent that comes from hard work that you had to really fucking work for, that's what impresses me. So
Can hard work at some point, especially if you have a family, can it also become a hindrance, a way to hide, an addiction? Can it be bad for you? You know, being the hardest worker in the room.
100%, 100%. I think, you know, if hard work means you ignore your family, you ignore spending time with your kids, you ignore your wife, all that stuff, yeah, absolutely. It's a
Yeah.
balancing act for sure. And when I talk about hard work, I don't just mean hard work as in going to work. I mean hard work as in a meaningful day is hard work.
Mm,
So stuff like, you know, I get up at 4:30 and I train early because I know in the evening I want to spend time with my kid. Like
hmm.
that's hard
Right.
work. That's
Right.
like organizing your time and your day so that you can live the kind of life that you want to live. Um, if my kid gets home at like 4 p.m. and then at 4:30 say, well, I'm going to go train, and then when I get back, he's in bed. You know, that's not being a good father. That's not living a meaningful life. So
Right.
it's hard work is making your day meaningful in the sense that I want to tick the boxes of doing something meaningful at work, doing something healthy for myself, spending time with my family, spending time with my son. And then
Where did you get your work ethic? I know your parents, they're lovely
yeah,
people.
definitely my
Is it from
dad.
your parents?
Yeah, definitely my dad. My dad was always like up at the crack of dawn, after work, come home, would often like work from home as well. Like he was always just a really hardworking guy, but also did like a ton of stuff around the house, always building stuff, always working on the car, always in the garage. Just like your atypical like dad's dad kind of guy. And yeah, just I've always admired him. I was always admired everything he did. My grandfather also was he's a coal miner, works in the coal mines, just classic kind of like blue collar working guy who you know
I see. No, it's interesting
lived
because
a hard
I don't,
life.
you know, I
Lived
don't
a
know
hard
this about
life.
you, but I see where it comes from now, you know, from the
Yeah,
family tree.
they all like worked hard lives and did like good, hard, honest workers kind of
Right.
thing. And none of them had a lot of money. You know, everyone, you know, they weren't like poor, middle class kind of situation where they just had decent jobs. My dad was an engineer, um, but worked hard for it. Worked hard for everything that they had. Never got given anything. No silver spoons. Just everything they ground for. Um, which you know, that's the great thing. It's almost such a blessing to not have rich parents because
Yeah.
you get to witness how hard they work for everything that they have. Even if at the end of the day, that doesn't mean extreme wealth. It just means you're able to provide for your family. Um, that is a gift. Like you see how a provider provides, you see how hard they work for everything that you have. You know, if you want, you know, presents at Christmas, and if you want to have a big tree, and if you want to, you know, go on a holiday somewhere, that takes hard work. And when you witness that firsthand, as I witnessed it, you understand the value of hard work and the reward at the end of that.
Yeah, it's interesting. I have a really a love-hate relationship with hard work. I do respect it. So my parents came here with $500, two kids, and they had nothing. And you know, they started from the ground. My mom was basically working at a 7-Eleven, and she got held up a few times at gunpoint. My dad worked for the telephone company pulling cable. They worked so much that they were never home. So I didn't get a lot of emotional milk. Dad never took me fishing, never took me camping, was never around. So but you know what? They had to do that to live and
Right.
to build a life for me. So I respect hard work, and I'm definitely I find that I'm someone who can work hard, get obsessive, but I also know by having a family like that, the uh the edge of hard work, meaning the consequences of how hard work can hold the family hostage, and suddenly
Yeah,
no one's around, you
100%.
know?
But I think, and that is the privilege that me and you have now, is that because your mom and dad worked so hard to establish you in America, you can now live a better life with your family,
Be around.
because you can be around, because you
Yeah.
saw how hard they worked, and that meant less time with you. And now you don't want to be in that situation. You want to be in a situation where, yeah, I want to work hard, I want to write these books, but I want to spend time with my family. Um,
Peter, I don't leave my
I know
house.
because I
I'm in my
did.
garage all day.
Huh?
I don't leave my house. I'm in my garage all day.
Right. But you want to spend time with your family. You want to have those the experiences that you never got to have.
Yeah.
So I think in a way that was a gift, right? Because you know what you don't want.
Yeah.
So that means you make
Yeah.
those changes, you adjust. You saw the repercussions of working so hard that you never see your family, and now you're like, well, I'm not going to be that situation. I'm going to be like, yes, I'm going to work hard. Yes, I know what it means to be a hardworking guy and be successful, but I also know what it means to be present, to be a good dad, to be a good father, and
Yeah,
um,
and speaking of that, because we only have a few minutes left, I wanna tighten the vice a little bit. I've been doing some men's work. I've got a whole book about men, and another thing that I see, and Pete, I think it's you and I in our own little spaces. Um, um, we're leaders, right? We're leading communities, and I think so. There's a responsibility. Um, One of the things that I also saw growing up was the man, quote unquote, my dad, who was also an alcoholic, never doing anything around the house. And I think it's changing now. And I think what's going to change is people like us who are quote unquote doing, building our empires and doing everything we're doing, working hard, but also um, changing the blueprint as far as domestically. My dad used to yell across the room for my mom to get him a glass of water, and she would just do it every time. And
yeah, well,
I never learned how to do laundry, dishes, nothing. My mom did everything. And I think that's old school. I think that's, the 50s, right? And I think with you and I, especially since we're the same age, our generation, and now that we have kids, we're going to be the generation that changes things and redefines what a man looks like.
yeah. I mean, I think growing up, you can talk about like stereotypes and traditions and stuff. Obviously, both my parents worked. My dad did help around the house. Probably my mother did more of the housework than my dad. But
Sure.
like I said, my dad was always doing stuff, whether it was fixing something in the house that needed fixing.
Right.
Um, Laundry, my mum probably would do, but it's not. There was a balance there. He was
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
actually. It's not like he came home and put his feet up. Like they were
Right.
both working
Right.
hard at different
Right.
things. And one of the things that I find myself, I mean, I do all the cooking in our house. I'm the head cooking, so I do all of that. But then again, she does do the laundry. So
Yeah.
there is a balance there.
Yeah.
Like I'll do some things, she'll do some things. Um, and we both work together. Obviously, we have the same business together. We have a family together. There's a lot that we do together, and it takes balance, it takes a lot of coordination, it takes a lot of understanding, a lot of patience. But and you're kind of drawing on this a little bit here, John. It's interesting because masculinity has almost become like a toxic word, and people throw that term out, toxic masculinity all the time. But I think we need to find a balance between, because I can still consider myself like a masculine guy. I like that there are certain versions.
You're definitely obviously a masculine guy. You also have a lot of feminine energy, and
For
masculine
sure.
feminine. It's not a gender thing.
No,
You're
exactly. Yeah,
sensitive, right? You're creative. You
for sure.
sing. There's a lot of feminine energy.
Yes,
Not like, yeah.
and that is a balance of like it's okay. You have these different sides of yourself and these um different almost like roles that you step into in certain situations. Because I don't think you know masculine is a bad thing. I don't think testosterone is a bad thing. I don't think feminine is a bad thing. I think we need all these like elements to us to exist and to exist in a kind of positive way and to have good relationships and to be the kind of family person that you're describing, um, that is more of a balanced situation. Because the reality of the situation is, if you both in your family unit, if both partners work full time and you both have jobs and you both have kids and stuff like that, you have to have kind of like an unwritten agreement of like, well, I'll take care of this stuff, you take care of that
Yeah, of
stuff,
course, of
and then
course.
we'll kind of meet.
Yeah,
And it's not
and I also
nothing to do
struggle.
with it's nothing to do with masculine and feminine
No,
anymore.
no, no, it doesn't.
That's
It's
like
yeah, it's
what
not
makes
that.
sense for you to do. What's the stuff that you're better at? What's the stuff that I'm better at?
I agree. I
I
agree.
guess care of that.
I
And
agree.
also,
You love cooking, you love barbecuing. That's your thing. There may be a gift there, maybe not. I don't know. I don't at all. So um, I don't cook. But you know what? I also do the dishes almost every night. So
right.
and I also struggle with it. So at home, I struggle with the blueprint that was passed down by my parents and what I saw, which is old school, and the shoulds that I live with, which is, women should cook, women should do the laundry, men should work on the cars and mow the lawn. That's how I grew up, and that was imprinted in me. And so to kind of redefine those roles is very hard and challenging. I struggle with it, but
Yeah.
but it's all just a conversation, and that's also what's interesting to me is to talk with someone like you who has a lot of muscle and builds things, and is very good with your hands, and but also sensitive, and you're on your own journey, and I think a lot of people, especially since you run a giant community, they look up to you, or they see you, they absorb things from you, right? How could they not? So it's just I admire anyone just kind of willing to uh talk about
I
it,
think also the important thing to remember, there's no wrong or right as to how a relationship should look, or what the man should do or what the woman should do. It's like what makes sense for your relationship. And
right?
that may be defined by what you're passionate about, what you're good
Sure.
at, what you're bad at, but also by like what your day looks like. So for example, like I'm an early riser. Like I get up at 4:35, get to the gym, do my workout, do it. So it makes more sense for me to do certain things in our day. Whereas Emily will get up a little bit later. She's way better at working later in the day than me. Like
Yeah.
past
Yeah.
6 p.m., I'm fucking useless.
Sure.
Work like through the night. And she's amazing, like to all hours, because she has that ability. I don't have that ability. I'm good in the morning. I'm good right through to like 6 p.m. And then I don't know what happens, but when 7 p.m. comes around, my brain just dies and I'm good
Yeah.
for nothing. So those situations change what your day looks like. So really, it's just like looking at each other, realizing who you are, realizing what you're good at, what you're bad at, and deciding like, I'll take care of this stuff, you take care of that stuff, and together we'll make a life happen. And that's really, I just think, what relationships are all about.
Yeah. I
Throwing
mean,
out.
bring it back to relationships. Yeah, you're right. It's ultimately, and this is the first time I think I found this with Vanessa, now that I have technically have a family, is the word partnership, right? So I've been in a lot of relationships, but I don't think I've been in any true partnerships. And that's kind of what we're talking about, right? Is the partnership. So whether you're building a business or what needs to be done at home or even raising a child, there's a partnership here. So throw out the gender roles, throw out the he should and she should, and kind of it's going to be customized to your own family and what works for you.
Yeah, and I think at a certain point you have to deal with reality, right? So you go into relationships with all these romantic ideas, or you might have preconceived romantic ideas about what relationships look like when you're a kid. It's like this prince and princess situation, whatever. But when you grow up a little bit, you realize that there's a reality to the situation, and that reality is a partnership. Like we have
Sure.
to make a life work. We have to make
Sure.
this situation work. We have to be able to take care of business. We have to be able to pay our bills. We have to be able to look after our children. And that's just a reality that you have to manage. And not like you should run your relationship like a company, but it is the realization like we both in this shit together. We both have to make this work, and we have to
Yeah.
work together to make things, make the days tick. And that's why you can't. I mean, you've seen these people like they go into a relationship like it is a fairy tale. They have this enormously expensive wedding, and then it all falls apart within a
Yeah.
year
Yeah.
because they didn't consider, okay, there's actually a reality to existing together.
Sure.
And once they experience that reality of existing together, they can't deal with it because they realize it isn't a fairy tale; it's a reality. And
Yeah.
life just isn't a fairy tale, unfortunately.
I mean,
Um,
that's kind of the whole concept of this whole book, that happily ever after is something we've been fed in that relationship. I believe partnerships are built, not the fantasy that we've been fed. Hey, as we end, can we talk a little bit about why PHAROS everyone at PHAROS doesn't like me? Why do you think that is, Peter?
yeah, it's kind of awkward.
Is it because I'm arrogant, or because I have a resting bitch face? Because also Ryan Rockford has a resting bitch face as well, and she admits it.
Actually, let's finish on this because this is one of my favorite things to talk about. There's a difference between the public self and the private self, right? And you and me, we're both better online than we are in real life. And what I
Oh
mean by
man,
that
you
is,
you better start using some I statements again, Peter.
well, you are notoriously bad in public situations, right? So online, you're great. You're recording videos all the
You're
time.
saying people, when people really get to know me, they're disappointed, is what you're saying. You're saying, oh,
Right.
he
It's like,
doesn't line up with what he portrays to be. I get what you're saying. Okay.
yeah.
I think I could come off as kind of because I'm not a smiley guy. I think I could come off as a little arrogant. You, on the other hand, are very warm, and when you come into a room, you're smiley. You're very warm. I'm a lot closed off. I'm an introvert, so I think people mistake that as arrogance.
I don't know if it's arrogance. I think sometimes people mistake insecurity for rudeness. And I see it a lot. So people
I didn't say I was
judge
insecure. I said I was an introvert.
people. You're definitely insecure. People judge people like on how they behave. It's like, that guy's so rude, he must be an asshole. It's like, maybe he's just maybe
because the person didn't like reach out or say hi first.
right.
And all that
Maybe
stuff.
they're just uncomfortable in the situation. Maybe this just isn't the theater in which they feel like they can thrive. Whereas like I still think I'm better online than I am in real life. I think I'm a disappointment in real life. But I will say I do love being I love coaching, because I love being in a room and almost commanding that room and having people like listen and understand. And I love getting the best out of people. I love that. I love drawing people's energies out of them and watching them explode. Whereas
I've witnessed that with your fucking jean shorts and
you do that through your books and through your work, right? That's how you bring the people read your words and you bring something out of them, whether it's a revelation or whether it's an understanding or whatever it is. You use the written word to extract something good out of people, whereas I typically have used performance in some sense to get the best out of people. So
hey, you know what else it is dude, because I'm either podcasting or on my phone or writing a book all day, when I come to PHAROS, I almost want the time that you want, where you kind of want to be left alone and just want to like do your thing. So when I take class, of course I like bumping chests, talking a little bit, but I kind of like go into my own introverted weird. And I'm sure people are like, that guy's kind of a dick. And also I think because I've been CrossFitting for so long, I'm old and beatable. And so I think people just, because I'm not like, good, so good that they can't, but I'm not like a beginner. I'm kind of like in the middle. And so they're like, oh, I'm going to beat that fucker. So I think a lot of people chase me.
Yeah. I think it's a lot of things, but I think part of it is, like you said, it's like, it's your time to just like get into your own world, just do your thing, get in, get out kind of thing. You're busy. I get it. You want to get in, you want to get out, you want to do your thing. But I think it is good. I think you'll be happier if you just, and you do it when I'm there, and you'll do it if Jeff's there. If you take a moment to like converse with people and get to know people, like
for sure,
the joy that brings out of you.
I need to stretch myself and make eye contact, shake hands, make PHAROS my community instead of just Pete and Jeff. Right. Yeah. Fuck Jeff. I don't even know who Jeff is anymore. So yeah, just Pete. But hey, I want to say a couple things before we end. Hey man, I'm really proud of you, because I've witnessed you from being my roommate in Los Feliz, walking the nights with coffee aimlessly and clueless with no passion, to now. I mean, PHAROS was a shed. It was a shed that you guys turned into a huge gym, and now you're opening a second one in Idlewild. You had a baby, you have another one coming. Yeah, man, I just watching you manifest this poster in your head of the ranch and your dream has been really inspiring. So
thanks, brother. I mean, you too, man. As you said, like, we've come a long way from like walking the streets of Las Vegas drinking decaf, and to see you like,
and comparing our frying pans
with our frying pans all these years later, with all these books and so much. It's it's not just the books that I see. Like, you've really come out of yourself in these last few years, like your online presence, even your writing is so much better. Like the things you say, I don't know if it's just because you're plagiarizing more people.
Most likely that. I have a copywriter and also a ghostwriter as well, who's written all my books.
I think whatever it is that's happened to you in the last few years, like you've really found your voice, you've really found the way to express yourself. It feels right and feels genuine. I know in your heart, you're always worried about people not seeing you as genuine. But I want you to know that it does come across as genuine. And I think you've really found your voice and you found your audience, and you've really used the skill sets that you have to make the best of yourself and the best of your life and the best of your situation. And I'm super happy for you and Vanessa. I'm really glad you bought a house in Idlewild so you could be closer to me. That's really sweet. And I look forward to sitting in your hot tub and drinking whiskey soon.
Yeah, thank you, Peter. I appreciate that. You're very kind. We're going to be porch friends, which means sitting on a porch drinking whiskey and looking back at all the days and how far we've come. So,
yeah.
What's that?
In blankets.
In blankets. Yeah, we're going to be cold and old.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Thank you for having me on your podcast and you.
That was my podcast. Oh, I thought it was your podcast. Okay, great. It was my podcast. Okay.
Yes. All right. Go build something.
Thanks, buddy.
Be well. I hope that episode was helpful. Hey, listen, if you want to share your singlehood journey, if you've gone somewhere and come back, if you have revelations and wisdom, please share your story. It's going to help other people. Nothing makes us feel more connected than hearing other people's stories. So just send me the audio of your story, and you could just record it directly from your phone and email it to theangrytherapist@gmail.com. Also, if you want our Single on Purpose newsletter, go to singleonpurpose.life. That's singleonpurpose.life. You will get tools and articles and other people's stories, and also Zoom links to private gathers. So if you want to join our community, go to singleonpurpose.life. Thank you for listening. Be well. We hope you tell a friend.